Dude, could you imagine the boomer posting from a guy who's 1,000 years old?
Right?
like it's not even minion memes. It's all like cuneiform memes, but with the same
minions.
text. Yeah. Lore Boys here. The internet's #1 female-led podcast is back with more of what you wanted. I am your host, Peter O'Donohue, and I am desecrating cultural sites in third world countries, and I am joined by...
It's me, Ethan Palmer, and no Jamie this week because he's giving a hand job to Angelina Jolie.
Ooh, some heavy petting?
Yeah, exactly. Over the clothes is how she likes it.
Yeah, it's prom.
Yeah. And Jamie wasn't sure he was going to go. He was really committed to doing the Lore Boys this week, but, pretty insistent. And, he's got a good thing going with her. She's rich. He's hoping to make a buck. So that's the only reason Jamie got with Angelina Jolie was for the money, obviously.
Yeah, he's going to be a great sugar baby and stepfather to her 2 adopted children, who I think are both like our age at this point. Oh my God. Anyway, today's episode about Tomb Raider was requested by Leslie04 and also sort of requested by patron Darkside Bunny, though he had asked specifically for the OG PS1 games, which I have never played. But in the past 2 weeks over the holidays, I crushed the new Survivor trilogy of Tomb Raider and really, really enjoyed 2 and 3 a ton. So here we go. You're welcome, Leslie. And also shout out and welcome to our New Year new patrons. Just an absolute... like 4 of a kind banger names: Cletus Velveeta, Don't Tickle Me, Bleak Victory, and Mike Jones. And I left a little note here for myself: as I admire your no nonsense username, Mr. Jones.
I will say, thank you, patrons, for supporting the show. If you want to become a patron, support the show, patreon.com/theloreboys. I will say those I saw those names pop up in our shared inbox as well, and had a chuckle at every single one of them. Also,
yeah. just the immediate, because Mike Jones is the most recent one, where it's just like it's like, no, silly season is over. It's just like like slam the brakes on right there. Don't Tickle Me. A specific shout out here. I was talking to them in chat at some point. I was like, oh yeah, like I'd subscribe, like in our fitness channel on the Discord linked below. It was just like, oh, I'd subscribe for some blah 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 or whatever. And I was like, would you subscribe for Jacked BT from Titanfall 2? And did a very quick sketch of like Muscle Man body with just the Titan's head. And then like 40 minutes later, we got a new patron. I was like, I'm very, very glad I could trick you into joining our cult here.
It's got to be worth it, right? It's just got to be.
I hope so. I was hoping to turn it into a t-shirt over the holidays, but I was too busy and then hungover. So
there you go.
I do intend on launching that.
I did bring it up in a chat in the Discord, which you may not have seen, Peter, but I think we can sell our Skaven art now of Steamboat Willie, because Steamboat Willie is public domain, right?
Oh, get fucked, Disney!
Right? I'm pretty sure we could just take that and put it on a t-shirt now.
Yo, remind me, because I sent that to people I sent that to friend of the show, Bobby of Bobby and Whitney fame, because he wanted to put it on a t-shirt. I was like, I can't sell it. Here's the Photoshop file. Do with it what you will. That rules, dude. Okay, remind me, because get fucked. We've been sitting on that. This show's a great investment.
We gotta draw a bunch of other Disney characters and just wait years until they become public domain.
Centuries, yeah. So, Ethan. Jamie, I know, owns and has never played the first new Tomb Raider, but have you played any of the new ones or any Tombs Raider? Excuse me, it's like Attorneys General. At all, ever? PS1, PS2, something?
I've beaten the first of the new ones.
Okay.
Played that one through on my roommate's PS3, I want to say.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. I had never played another one. I really enjoyed that one. I think it's like it's funny on the bonus content. If you want to hear the bonus content, subscribe to our patreon.com/. You mentioned on the bonus content like the comparison between Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed, and when I played the first of the new trilogy way back in the day, I looking back on it now, I'm like, I had stopped playing Assassin's Creeds altogether, which I really enjoyed when I was younger, for reasons which we've discussed before on the show. Assassin's Creed is good for what it is, I guess, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for most of the time.
Yeah.
But Tomb Raider like scratched that itch for me very well, in that it was like, some platforming. There was, like single player story, that you're just kind of like action adventuring through your way through, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I because of the Steam summer sale, I got the third one for $12. I was like, just because I'm going to do an episode about this, I should see how far I can get before needing to write a script. In the first one, it's probably like the third one was $12. The first, I was like, it's probably $3. Turns out I owned it. Had no fucking idea. So I just like, excuse me. I played it for 40 minutes just to get the context for what they were looking for, get the keywords back in there, get a couple screenshots, and I was like, all right, baby, that's first person research. Let's do it. I'm going straight to the source. So like I said, I definitely recommend them here. Pete, seal of approval. One quick thing about the second and third games: do the optional tombs. That is where that's the S tier content. They all give you a unique reward, like a skill or a passive or something like that, or like pieces of legendary gear, and they're just so much fun. Like it's you got to use all your tools. You got to remember what everything does, and unlike Assassin's Creed, the Tomb Raider games are not fucking automated. So it's like, I hope you remember how to use everything for this puzzle, because you're not going to be able to solve it otherwise, and it's always worth it. I very much like that. So for our episode here, the protagonist, Lara Croft, it's very much like the reboot prequel territory, where they're like, well, how did Lara get her triangle boobies and her dual pistols? Out of the four things I just talked about, none of them are in the new trilogy. So
not triangle boobies nor double pistols.
No guns akimbo either. At no point. It's a very bow focused. Like the bow and arrow is not only stronger than every gun in the game. This thing like she makes out of branches. Games. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like I can't believe the Chinese ever had to invent gunpowder to deter the Mongol hordes. Because the bow, they just like shoot a bunch of arrows at the Great Wall, it'll just collapse. Fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
And just like bing, 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 bing. Yeah, but it is really good. Her backstory, everything is very much explained in those games, so we're not going to get into those. Like, what I usually do is like, look, these games are more like recent enough. If you're curious as to how Lara Croft became the Tomb Raider, fucking play them. Like, the trilogy is $20 or less USD, certainly, if the third was 12 CAD, right? So
probably, yeah.
So what I want to get into today is the kind of the supernatural MacGuffins that are the target of each game, as well as their real-world counterparts, because they're all inspired by, and in some cases are a fusion of real mythology or religious iconography, and you love counterparts, so.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite band, so.
Exactly. So this might unlock some ye old memories back when you had a roommate. The first mystery in the first game, in the original new Tomb Raider, concerns the Kingdom of Yamatai, which was an island kingdom somewhere east of Japan, out in the Pacific Ocean, located in a treacherous part of the ocean in-game called the Devil's Triangle. The game kind of adapts the real Yamatai, which, as far as we know, did exist, and kind of combines it into this new thing that is at both points Bermuda Triangle and Atlantis, like Japanese Atlantis, basically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that's like the whole purpose of that first game, is getting to that island and like solving the mystery there.
Yeah. So from the first one, like, I don't remember too much. Like, I do remember being on a Pacific island, and like there's a group of bad Tomb Raiders, people who are going to other white people who are going to plunder these ancient tombs of another culture for bad intent, not for good intent,
for bad profit. I'm gonna put it in my cathedral in Croft Manor. These guys were gonna, I don't know, sell it for money or something like that.
Exactly. How ignoble. But that's really like all I remember, is that you're fighting against these other people who are trying to get this. And I think it's like Uncharted, where it's like there's like there is magic, right? Like the artifacts are powerful. Yeah.
It's not like, or like Indiana Jones, all the stuff that would have inspired this, like the Ark of the Covenant The Ark of the Covenant wasn't a metaphor. It does melt
people's
guys,
face.
right?
Melt face.
The Ark of the Covenant wasn't in us all along, right? It is real. On Yamatai, it's like it does go. So those guys are not actually. They are bad white people, classic. They are not alternate Tomb Raiders. They are actually a cult formed around one of the characters we're going to talk about on the island of Yamatai. And their plane was taken down in the 80s, I believe, by the Dragon's Triangle. So they're actually stranded there and realized, like, wow, this bitch has ghost samurais. We should probably worship her or else she'll skin us alive.
Which is fair. I would worship a big lady with ghost samurai.
Me too.
I think. Yeah.
I think it's a safe bet, especially when I crashed my plane and all of our ghost samurais that we had loaded onto our 80s plane have now been lost at sea, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing we're going to raid is like a sunken treasure. It's all ghost samurais.
Yeah, we have Tomb Raider. Where's Ghost Samurai Factory Raider, right?
Well, that's a long title, right?
Yeah, they're printing them out at the Ghost Samurai Factory these days.
So much like a lot of depictions, both in media of both the Bermuda Triangle and Atlantis, Yamatai is shown to have various shipwrecks from various time periods wrecked on its shores. You can open up the first image there; that'll be available for the patrons. I grabbed a screenshot when I was replaying the intro of the first one. You'll see like a sailing ship wrecked on the rocks when you get to the title screen. Basically,
yeah, very very Wrecker's Coast. This is not the first. This is not the first shipwreck to meet these shores.
No. What was I going to say here? Oh, and the platforming tutorial is like a crashed American World War II bomber hanging off a waterfall as well. So there's like all stuff from different eras. Everyone falls to the Dragon's Triangle, dude.
Yeah.
A cliche that they reuse in every single game that is still a cliche that I love. I loved it in The Witcher 3. Is I love finding a shipwreck somewhere a shipwreck don't belong, dude.
Oh yeah, classic.
There's
up on the side of a mountain.
There's a Byzantine ship in the second one, frozen into a glacier. Fucking awesome. There's like a Spanish galleon in an underground cave in the third one. Fucking awesome. And like obviously the World War II bomber crashed on like the magic Japanese island. Fucking awesome. I love that shit so much. Always gets me.
They're Americans. They probably just like really like turned it up to 11, you know what I mean? The speed did like a sick jump, and like there's probably like bald eagles flying off the ship as they crash into the side of this Pacific island.
Yeah, it's just like in the middle of the jungle. There's like, crush a Bud Light can against his forehead.
First and last out, let's go.
Oh man. So after the apparent suicide of her father, Lord Richard Croft, Lara swore to continue his research into ancient ruins and civilizations, all to prove that his crackpot theories were correct. Mm-hmm. And after the British tabloids had posthumously smeared him as a quack, this is one of my favorite things where like British gossip rags are notoriously venomous in real life. Yeah. And if you want to open up the next one, it is just like the headline they have. It's basically like this man allegedly kills himself in his home in front of his teenage daughter, and that the tabloids in Britain are just like, dumb fucking idiot, what can't read, kills himself. It's wild claims debunked.
They are, the gossip rags are notoriously bad, like you say. They killed Princess Di, right? But I love the idea that they're following this, like, archaeologist. It's like,
yeah, I know.
Professor, like this person who obviously nobody would care about in real life.
Like, he would be a Joe Rogan guest, right? Like, he does, because he's had on Graham Hancock, who I think is a quack, but he's at least interesting.
He's absolutely a quack, in my opinion.
I mean, that's what I said. He's everything he says is insane, but he's fascinating at the very least. He's one of those ancient society guys. I've said this before. He doesn't take credit away from the people who were there already, right? Which makes him better than the alien dudes. But regardless, like basically the headlines are just like Joe Rogan guest commits suicide. They're like, fuck this idiot. Like when Graham Hancock dies, that's not gonna happen. Right?
No. Nobody's gonna hear about it.
Front page news. Like,
Nobody's
no one will
know.
Lara's mother, Amelia, was her last name is her maiden name is de Moray. Amelia de Moray.
Is it implied that she's Amelia Earhart?
It's the original name of her is a reference to it because
Okay.
Amelia Croft does die in a plane crash.
Oh yeah,
However,
that's fun.
she is not eaten by crabs, who may or may not have taken down the plane,
We don't know
knowing there
for
was a
sure.
delicious woman in there.
Maybe Amelia Earhart crash landed on Christmas Island and started an ancient civilization. Did you ever think about that?
That would be a great plot for Tomb Raider 4.
Be a great plot for a Lore Boys Christmas episode.
Yeah, Crabs of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Crabs of the Tomb Raider. So Lara's mother, Amelia, was very much the inspiration for much of Richard's work. A plane she was on, like I said, crashed in a mountain range, which wasn't specified. In my head, I would say it was probably in South America because there was a very famous plane crash in the Andes, I believe, where a soccer team went down and two of the guys managed to drag themselves to civilization to get the survivors rescued.
Didn't they eat each other? What survivors? I thought they all ate each other.
They didn't eat everybody.
I haven't seen the movie.
The living ate the dead. They didn't. I don't believe they killed each other. It wasn't as bad as like the whaling ship Essex or that wagon caravan that also did it. Whoever the fuck they were.
The Donners? Yeah, the Donner Party.
The Donner Party. Thank you. Yeah. No, they didn't kill each other. They didn't draw straws and kill each other. I believe they ate the dead because the corpses stayed fresh since they were crashed in the ice. Amelia Croft also, after writing one letter for Lara and one letter for Richard, did eventually die of exposure, and her body was found and recovered by Richard Croft, who had figured out where she had crashed and gone to find her.
Okay.
After finding her, Richard Croft dedicated his life to finding ancient and magical way to resurrect her. So the first two games are very... So maybe if Graham Hancock was on Rogan being just like, my wife is dead and I'm going to find the secrets of resurrection to bring her back to life. Maybe the gossip rags would talk about his death, because it is like particularly crazy, right?
Got like an iron spiked crown and a skull painted on a mask on his face. Yeah, so Joe, I just really am into the necromantic arts these days. It's like there's so much secrets there, these untold potentials. Really. I don't know what Graham Hancock sounds like. I've never heard him speak.
He's just a British guy, very soft spoken. I was thinking about him a lot on this one. It's funny. My buddy I saw last night, because I was in the process, like talking to him, I was like, oh, I'm going to write a Tomb Raider episode. Mm-hmm. And I was talking about Graham Hancock. A buddy of mine's actually a big fan of his work. Like, he finds it very fascinating. Mm-hmm. And he has a signed copy of like Fingerprints of the Gods from Graham Hancock, because him and his dad, like last year, went to a seminar of his. And okay. I didn't like shit on it, because I was like, hey, this thing you like is stupid. But it is interesting that he like has a signed book. And I ran into Stuart yesterday after years, right before doing the Ancient Civilization episode, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm like, if you're out there and you believe Graham Hancock, that's your God-given right. This is just my dumbass opinion. Mine's no more valid than yours. To me, it's I can see enjoying it from the same reason I feel like I might enjoy reality TV, in that I know it's completely fake, but it can still be really fun to just like suspend your disbelief and believe in, would be how I would look at it. I don't know. Yeah. To me, it's the classic Occam's razor. Like, yeah, sure. This is a lot of evidence that this stuff could have happened, but you're jumping through a lot of hoops to explain what a much simpler explanation already explained hundreds of years ago, like
I watched there's a great YouTube channel called The Minuteman, and he's an archaeologist, a real one.
Yeah.
And he does like a 5-part review of Graham Hancock's Netflix show. So he would be reviewing Richard Croft's Netflix show in this universe, right? Lore Boys canon, of course. Yeah.
Sure.
The video game version of The Minuteman. And he was just like, yeah, Graham is saying that all these like ancient Turkish homes have their doors pointed at the star Sirius in the sky. And it's just like, yeah, I guess maybe, but like, don't you think all these homes are pointing in the exact same direction because everybody on Earth can see the sun, and you need to let the sunlight into your home? It's it's that's why. Because one of my favorite things about Hancock, and Croft is like a what if he was right sort of character, is just like it's like, oh, this place is older than we expected, which is true. Like Göbekli Tepe is older than the pyramids, and it's like the oldest megalithic structure that we know of, or whatever.
Sure.
He's like, I think it's older. and presents zero evidence. It's like,
That's it. Like,
okay,
why? Why? It's already cool that it's old. You know what I mean? Like, it's already cool. Archaeology is already cool. You don't have to take these extra steps to go and try and like get crazy with it. But you sell a lot of books to
you do.
And
it is fun, and it does no harm, right? It doesn't take credit away from the people who were there. One of the other things, just the other, I guess, all within the ancient, maybe archaeology was cooler, is he always says like mainstream archaeology is conspiring against me, which in Tomb Raider they were conspiring against Richard Croft. It is a video game, so he was correct. But like in real life, it's like key bono, dude. What do you think? Egyptologists are like, well, we couldn't possibly allow anyone to think the pyramids were slightly older. What the fuck are you hiding?
Why the fuck not? Yeah. I mean, exactly the same reason why in real life he wouldn't be front page on the London Times. You know?
Exactly. And then whatever. We've got more on Eternal Life in the next segment coming up, but there's a little family photo there of the Crofts. So little Babby Lara, her kind of, like you said earlier off air, the Uncanny Valley dime of a mother, and then Richard Croft, her dad. Yeah,
very, all of them very Uncanny Valley in this photo, which I assume is like an in-game photograph that you can like pick up and interact with.
Yeah, it is a collectible, yeah. Another great part about the game is the voice actress for Lara. The in-game dialogue sometimes is bad, but when you find an artifact, there's always like a little paragraph of her like geeking out about this cool thing she found. Yeah. Those are the best part of the fucking game. Like it makes collectibles good because she's like, oh wow, this is so cool. Inlaid jade and obsidian all put together, like some Aztec shit she found in the third game. It's like picking them up and listening to the little blurb about the thing she picked up is also great, like a shell casing, whatever. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. So Lara's first expedition, based on her father's work, was to be to Yamatai, which is what we opened with, the Japanese island in Japanese Bermuda Triangle, with some funding from Dr. James Whitman, a disgraced archaeologist and anthropologist. So now we're 2 Hancocks deep at this point. She pays for passage on a ship named the Endurance, a ship captained by her father's friend Conrad Roth. I believe also that he taught Lara many of her survival and combat skills. Like
this Roth fella.
Yeah, this Roth guy. Because I remember the first time I played through, because I played it through on PS3 as well. I was dating a girl at the time, and we just combined our PS3 libraries.
Okay.
I played her version or her copy of Tomb Raider, and I do remember like a phone call or a walkie-talkie call with Roth, and it's like, oh, you'll be fine. Don't worry. I've taught you enough. You're a Croft. So it's like, I guess you need to explain why video game character can use a gun now, right? Like, whatever. One thing I do find interesting for realism and annoying for gameplay is the stealth takedowns.
Yeah.
Are because Lara is like 100 pounds and visibly 5'4", killing a guy in body armor, like one of these PMC goons who's like tomb raiding instead of her. It like a stealth takedown takes like 4 or 5 seconds sometimes, because it's like, yeah, obviously it would take a woman this size that long to kill a man, but like this is a video game. She has an ice pick. Just hit him in the back of the head. Like, like, what the fuck is going on?
Just ice pick through his stupid ass helmet. It's a video game.
Exactly. Like this is the realism you choose. It's like, well, a little girl like this could never choke a man to death in a second. It's got to be like, like choking him with the bow or whatever, like choking him with the bowstring. I'm like, just speed it up here, fellas.
Yeah.
You can unlock a passive that allows you to use a combat knife to slit men's throats, which, frankly, I think they just should have done with like an arrowhead or something.
Fuck, be free, yeah.
Exactly. So also on the Endurance were Angus Grimaldi, the helmsman, Jonah Mayava, the cook. He's a big Polynesian guy. He's the only supporting character who is in all 3 games. And he is great. I like that character a lot. Jocelyn Reyes, who is a mechanic, Alex Weiss, a technician and electrician, and then Samantha Nishimura, who is a documentarian and the alleged surviving descendant of Sun Queen Himiko, who was the real-life and in-game ruler of Yamatai.
I feel like we've talked about Himiko at some point, but maybe I'm thinking maybe not.
Her name is used, because we will get into the real mythology that has happened since the disappearance of Yamatai. It's very cool. She's just like a probably a real person, like, and this is me because I'm very agnostic, very much like Jesus, like very probably real, but has since kind of passed into legend and myth, because like the
Okay.
last documented contact with Himiko was in like the 3rd century, which we'll get into. So,
Okay, cool.
And yeah, there's a bunch of shit there.
You heard it here first, Christians. Pete says Jesus is just a myth.
I said probably real.
You said just a myth. You said he's just a myth these days and not real. And he said, and Pete also said that Jesus does not love you. Hmm?
You can't put these words in my mouth just because you're editing the audio, you fucker. So the ship was named after the real Endurance, which was part of Ernest Shackleton's 1915 expedition to Antarctica.
Okay.
White people always be having names like Ernest Shackleton, but
I was gonna say earlier, like all the that's a lot of good names that you listed out there, and like obviously it's, plenty of them very British, but I thought just a very good list of you trotted out for us.
It's a real the crew of the Endurance in game is a very like college campus pamphlet spread of people, like it's a very Noah's Ark crew. So but like also the other thing is like people, like the Age of Exploration is where all the good names went, but all these men died in pack ice being idiots trying to find the Northwest Passage, which is why no one gets named Ernest Shackleton anymore. So the real Endurance became locked in pack ice and then was crushed by the ice and sank, leaving her crew living on a massive ice floe for 2 months. So they had to abandon ship and just get onto a big chunk of ice. And then she was crushed and sank, and they just lived there with their lifeboats and their tents and all that shit on a big chunk of ice.
Saved. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. One of the weird details about the Endurance is that they were just like, they were so worried that the cat would starve or freeze to death that they shot the ship's cat so she didn't have to suffer.
Okay, well, I mean, they're not going to give the cat food in a survival situation, right? It's like you're on an ice floe.
No, exactly. It's like you don't get a dried ration of a guy who died last night, cat.
Yeah, definitely not.
Right, so they lived on a massive ice floe for 2 months before making the insane 5-day journey to Elephant Island. So you can look up where Elephant Island is if you want, listeners and or Ethan. But if you want, in 1915, they had cameras. So if you want to open up the black and white, and I think the black and blue photos, is an actual photo of them launching their last life raft off of the pack ice to go to Elephant Island. So these
couldn't be their last one.
7 guys or whatever.
Who's taking the photo then? He's just getting left behind because he's taking the pictures.
You can run out in shin deep water.
Yeah, it's freezing cold. They're in the Arctic Circle, man. I mean, they're all wading through the water.
Yeah.
But
they're all wading through the water.
But I thought you said it was the North. Wait, where's the Northwest Passage?
Northwest Passage is in Canada. These guys is the Shackleton was an Antarctic explorer.
Oh, I thought you said they got crushed in pack ice in the Northwest Passage.
No, sorry, I was talking about separate, like Captain Crozier and shit like that, like the Terror and the Erebus and all the guys and some other one.
Listen to our Transformers episode.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, exactly. Right, so they made a 5-day journey on this life raft, which they named the James Caird, and actually made it to Elephant Island, which is a small island, I believe, near like the tip of Argentina. Or something like that.
Well, near's generous.
Okay, near in relation to like closer than like they're closer to home on Elephant Island than they were being crushed to death in pack ice near Antarctica, right?
Yeah,
they're making it back north, which from here is getting warmer, back to South America.
That's fair. The distance from that's not.
What?
I was going to look at the distance from Elephant Island to Argentina. It gave me a way too big number because it's taking me to the center of Argentina, not to the
just like the tip of Patagonia.
Yeah, 245 kilometers. Is that right? I don't know. Anyway, it's far.
Yeah,
far.
It's very far to be in a life raft in 1915
in Antarctic waters, which I think are notoriously pretty choppy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like I know you're a big fan of it, but like that obviously like the Age of Exploration and like the race for the South Pole, like the Edmondson journey and things like that were just so like what a time to be alive, man, and just be like, you're working, you're 7 years old, you're working in a factory, smoking cigarettes, listen to the radio, not on a break because you don't get breaks, and just like cheering on your guy as they're announcing like how much progress they've made across this like desolate, thousands of kilometers wide continent at the far end of the world, which you will never see and probably never see a map of and have no real understanding of, but
and can't read. So if they showed you a map, it could be a fucking anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a very cool time to be alive when there's still so much like, are they just going to find, Dino Land there where there's actually a bunch of rainforest in the center and we just don't know, like nobody's ever been there. Nobody's ever seen it. There's no satellites. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
We have no idea what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
So cool.
I mean, it is just a million square miles of uninhabitable wasteland, but it could have been cool. They did end up finding fossils on Antarctica. There are Antarctic dinosaurs, but of course at that time it was like like a tropical archipelago.
Yeah. Well, these dinosaurs use tools. This one's got a TI-83 calculator. Fucking dinosaur, like the dinosaur fossil from Jurassic Park, which is like a stupid calculator.
It's like just made of wood. It's just like in his hand, or like there's a calculator locked in amber, and that's how they got like the equation.
So they got aliens.
Huge. Yeah. Oh my god. So after their 5-day journey to Elephant Island, they took a second, more insane 17-day journey to South Georgia Island in an open lifeboat, and then they were eventually rescued because it was close enough to like whaling areas, basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Shackleton died in South Georgia. So I don't know if I assume, I don't know. I don't think it was part of that trip. I don't know, but
no, he went back and died later. He did not make it to the South Pole, as far as I know.
No, it wasn't. It was whoever raced Edmondson. It was like a Norwegian made it.
The Norwegians made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this whole aside here, just because one, I love the Age of Exploration. I think it's very cool, and also it is very funny that they were just
it was Amundsen. It wasn't Scott. Scott was the Brit.
Right. Okay.
But it was Amundsen who made it there first.
Yeah, so anyway, love the Age of Exploration, but it's the fact that they were just like, yeah, I'm going to charter a ship named after a ship that was famously a failure and crushed in the ice. Right? It's just like, yeah, cool. Give me that one. He's like, you don't want the she'll never sink or anything like that. Yeah. It's like, no, give me Endurance 2. Let's give it another shot.
If I ever had a ship, if I ever had a steamship, the only kind of ship that I want, because I want to name it the Fata Morgana, which is mirages on the ocean. So it's like desert mirages that you see on the ocean. They're called Fata Morganas.
Cool.
And I want a steamship specifically because steamships have the SS. That's what the SS means on boats. Steamship. So the honorable steamship, whatever.
That's what it means?
Yeah, and I would put the SS, I would make them big letters, and I would put it between Fata Morgana, so it would say Fat Ass Morgana. That would be the only boat that I want.
Fat Ass Morgana.
Yeah, SS is steamship. Like SV is sailing vessel, I think. HMS is Her Majesty's Service, I think, or Her Majesty's ship.
Yeah.
Something like that. So.
HMS Titanic. Oh no, it was the RMS Titanic and the Olympic were like royal something. So yeah, much like her namesake, Lara's Endurance wrecked off the coast of Yamatai, breaking her back and splitting in two like the Titanic. The storm is one of the island's magical defense mechanisms, along with the host of immortal samurai called the Storm Guard. Right.
I remember the storm now.
Yeah, it's like right after the first cutscene where they introduce all the characters is the shipwreck.
Okay.
So real-world records of Yamatai, which we can consider game canon, or at least lore boys do, because it all happens before the games and is cool enough. This old documentation comes from the Three Kingdoms era in Chinese texts, and they speak of a country ruled by a priest queen named Himiko. Records show that she had... Excuse me?
I said okay.
Okay. Records show that she had at least a brief relationship with the mainland, sending envoys and trading with the Chinese state of Cao in the early to mid 3rd century. So we have old documentation. This place was real.
But we don't know where it is?
We do not.
Oh, yeah. Generations of Japanese historians, linguists, and archaeologists have debated where Yamatai was located and whether it was related to the later Yamato. There you go.
Yeah.
How fun.
So after her death in 248 AD-ish, she was replaced by her younger brother, whose name I could not find. And shortly after he took over, Yamatai disappeared from the historical record, drifting off into myths and legends, being mentioned a couple of times in like the deep past by like 8th century Japanese texts and 12th century Korean texts. So the envoys that Himiko had been sending out from Yamatai were sent to like 3rd century Korea, whatever that was called at the time. But I think it's been pretty consistent for quite some time. A lot of that area is. And yeah, like you said, historians still debate whether or not it's real or where it could have been located. So I was figuring that maybe after we take over Lore City, Ohio with our Patreon money, we could set out on our own expedition in our own doomed vessel.
Absolutely.
And bring our cats to find Yamatai.
Well, at least send some patrons out to die on a ship, right?
Oh, that's probably better.
Yeah. Drown in Lake Michigan. Crushed by the ice floes.
So we're going to find more about this mysterious island and a couple more mysteries after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good ad on your forklift.
I hope your ears are okay after Pete yelled "Welcome back." You coming back from the break there?
Did I yell it?
Yeah, you yelled. You leaned into the mic a little. Some headphone users are going to be RIP.
I'm sorry, guys.
We've only been doing this for 8 years. We're still learning the ropes. Okay.
When the class action lawsuits comes in, I'll give you your $3 that I owe you for fucking your ears up. So, Queen Himiko's alleged immortality was what brought Lara and the Endurance to Yamatai. However, in the end, she chose not to claim it, as Himiko's ritual involved transferring her soul into a new body and destroying the host soul in the process. Like the alleged real Himiko, she had thousands of handmaidens and like other women in her employ, like within her kingdom, and she would train one up, pick one, train her to be like the most scholarly, the most well-read, the most professional, the most beautiful, all this shit, then go through the ritual of destroying her body and soul and taking it over, basically.
Did she make them well-read because she retains, like she gets their brain, like in the end, or like you would think her mind? The one thing I'll say, I'll pitch a Lore Boys canon here, is that maybe there is some like level of guilt there where she's like wants this person to have like a quote unquote good life while they're around and gives them like the all-star treatment and like teaches them about the world and all that before
burning their soul out of their body
before sending their soul on a Uruguayan flight that crashes in the mountains and cannibalizes
it. Yeah, we can Lore Boys canon that. Himiko in the game is presented as profoundly malicious.
Yeah,
but sure, yeah,
right.
Why not? It's probably just to keep the charade on more than anything, of just like, it's like the movie The Island, right?
Yeah,
where it's just like, I'm going to Elysium.
I'm winning the lottery. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it straight up is just like a rich person organ harvesting operation, like, but with magic.
So it is the same as the story of Jesus.
Whose organs did he harvest? I don't remember.
Well, he harvested the apostles, right? That's what he was training them up to do.
Oh, so you could take like St. Paul's, St. Paul's organs. But Judas sold his kidneys to the Romans for like 30 pieces of silver.
Yeah,
which is why he had betrayed him, because that was rightly Jesus' kidney silver.
Jesus' kidney. Those were my corneas. You had no right to sell them.
I do remember that part of the New Testament. Quote, those are my corneas. Oh my god.
And Jesus said, thou shalt not selleth mine corneas.
Despite the fact they lie within thy head.
Pete's taken down notes for what I can only assume is artwork of
yes.
Judas carving out his own corneas to sell at the black market.
There is that one, but I forgot to write down earlier, rating a calculator in amber, which I thought would be a fun one to put Lara into. Himiko in game tries to use her living descendant Samantha Nishimura from the Endurance, but is stopped by Lara Croft. It's the last boss fight. You save her from being possessed by Queen Himiko, who is finally killed because she doesn't have a new vessel to go.
Nishimura was the documentarian, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Her and Jonah are the only two characters I believe who survived to the end of that game, and she
The
is
first game. Okay.
not in any of these subsequent games, and is never even spoken about in Tomb Raiders 2 and 3. No one ever mentions the endurance, but at some point, Lara does say, like, I've lost too many people. It's like, then stop bringing your friends into crumbling ruins, dude.
Yeah, crumbling ruins with haunted ghost queens with samurai armies. Like, just stay home. Stay home, Lara.
Just sit this one out.
You did it in the first one, right? You restored your father's name and proved that he didn't have quack theories. So, like, hang it up, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. But
why not let evil win every now and then? You know what I mean? Come on, good guys.
Are they even evil? Like, in the end, she never claims. She just destroys all these things, right? In the end, to keep them out of the hands of.
Not her. That's what I'm saying. Just let the evil guys win. Like, you don't have to be the good guy and destroy this stuff anymore. It'll be fine. There's plenty of evil people that are in charge of the world right now. It's going okay. You know what I mean?
None of them. I was going to say none of them are using ghost powers to consume people's souls or steal their corneas, but I frankly don't know.
They actively are. Release the Epstein logs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, right? Where'd all the corneas go from Epstein Island, dude?
Yeah, they use them as little like thimble shot glasses for the adrenochrome. Children's corneas.
I was just thinking like the tray on Stephen Hawking's chair. It's just a bunch of like stolen organs. So, thankfully though, Antiquity and the documents are full of sources of immortality, the next of which is simply called the Divine Source, which led Lara and Jonah to Syria, through the Caucasus Mountains, into Russia, and then into Siberia. They were following the trail of a Byzantine prophet who spent centuries fleeing the Rus as well as the Mongols. Spoilers, I guess, for this game. The prophet is revealed to be a man named Jacob, who now lives in the city of Kitse, a hidden city within a geothermal valley in Siberia, which is the non-spoiler image. The kind of handsome Turkish guy there.
Yep.
That's him. That's
okay. And he lives in a Siberian dinosaur jungle. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
This hidden geothermal valley that is presumably much warmer than the rest of Siberia. And
that's it. I think it was an excuse. I mean, we'll get into the volcanic activity in Russia like right now, but it's not that far-fetched. And it's a very good way for the developers to change up the environment, because like the first bit of the game is in Syria, so you got desert ruins, then you have like kind of Soviet mixed with old snowy ruins in the middle of the game, and then the latter bit, or the denouement, is all within the geothermal valley to kind of sex things up a bit.
So they got 70% through the game and said, like, how the fuck? Wait, we need a jungle biome. How do we get them to a jungle biome
before she goes to cake levels? We need the jungle levels.
Just like 11:30 p.m. on a Friday in the writer's room, just like one guy with like a cigarette, just like super lit, just like, put a jungle in fucking Siberia.
Yeah.
What are the gamers gonna do? Rise up? Come on.
It's his bong.
Yeah.
How are we going to explain it? It's volcanoes.
You guys ever heard of geothermals? That was Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan.
Oh, straight up. Yeah, he's just like, I believe there was volcanic valleys in Siberia. That's crazy, man. So there is, or was, at least, a decent amount of volcanic activity in Siberia in real life. One area called the Siberian Traps is speculated to be what caused the Great Dying, which I believe is the worst mass extinction that we know of in Earth's history, when massive parts of Russia just fucking exploded and led to the extinction of 90% of all marine life and 70% of all terrestrial life. I believe this is like trilobites had been the dominant species on the ocean floor for like 500 million years, and this is what got them at this point.
Cool.
I think.
One of the major questions that's very interesting is the Permian Triassic mass extinction event.
So this kind of led to the rise of the dinosaurs because it cleared out the ecological niches that had been dominated by kind of proto-mammals and the weird, I think they're called synapsids, still like half mammal, half reptile ancestors, very odd-looking animals.
Cool. Mm-hmm. I'm glad my stupid dinosaur interjections were kind of on topic.
Yeah, not entirely off base.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. This is turn the oceans to acid and removed all the oxygen from the air. That would do it, huh?
Yeah, it turns out 10% of marine life managed to survive in the acid oceans, which is crazy. And that's where we kind of come from, right?
They're pretty fuckers. Those marine life forms.
Crabs
and
sharks, right?
Yeah,
sharks are older than trees, dude. This is crazy.
Yep.
So born in 843 AD in Constantinople in the Byzantine Empire. Jacob's life began. Jacob's life on the Lamb, began when the Rus invaded Constantinople in 860 AD. This is a real thing that happened. It started at least on June 18th.
Invaded? Oh my goodness!
The siege of Constantinople by the Rus. Yeah. It started on June 18th, 860, when the Rus began their siege of Constantinople, pillaging and murdering people in the suburbs as they went. And honestly, the 9th century was prime pillaging time, because at the same time as the Rus were laying siege to Constantinople, the Vikings were starting to invade the UK.
Yeah, England.
Yeah.
Jolly old England.
Or Umbria and the pre-unified
whatever they were called.
Provinces, whatever the fuck they were called, yeah.
The disunited kingdom.
Yes. the Vikings time.
The pre-united kingdom. I mean, I mean, the joke I was making is that Constantinople has been sacked 100 times in history, right?
Yeah.
They should be constantly sacked in Noble, right?
Yeah, got him. Nice.
Got him. Take that, Constantinople.
Yeah, Istanbul's a way worse name for that city now than that is, Ethan.
Yeah.
Constantly sacked the Noble. So the Rus in real life were, I think, nomadic raiders from the mountains between Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, that area there, I believe. And they eventually, I think, disseminated into areas like the Ukraine and Eastern Europe and whatnot. And Russia, right? They are the Rus. Well, they're the Kievan Rus as well. So we've got Kiev in Ukraine, and then Rus is the Russian people, right?
Makes sense.
So by the 10th century, the prophet of Constantinople began to draw the attention of Trinity, who are the bad, evil guys who want to tomb raid for money instead of for destroying the thing you find, which is the righteous thing to do.
They are like an Assassin's Creed ancient civilization or ancient society that.
Yeah, it is an ancient secret society that would eventually just become intertwined with the Catholic Church. There are no ancient aliens or ancient civilizations per se, the same way there are in Assassin's Creed. So they're not they don't predate humanity. So they're not actual Graham Hancock characters. They're very much still regular time. But the Trinity is they started the Crusades and whatnot in an effort to track down the prophet of Constantinople to stop him from doing miracles, because the Catholic Church hasn't had a good miracle in decades, and this guy's making us look bad.
Yeah, fair.
Which was their excuse for trying to hunt him down.
Yeah.
So they eventually pushed him out of Constantinople, out of Turkey, and into the mountains, into Syria, and then eventually Trinity would hire one of the few remaining Mongol hordes to chase Jacob and his people deeper into Siberia, which is when they would eventually find their geothermal dinosaur valley and set up Kitze, and then they would be able to defend it from there. Kitze sadly has been laid siege to not maybe as many times as Constantinople, but he definitely brought some of that bad juju with him, because he still had to fight off the Soviet Union in the 50s and 60s. When Stalin and Lenin finally discovered the magical jungle valley that they have in the middle of their country.
With the secrets to immortality. I can understand why a dictator would be gung-ho about that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, he wouldn't have had that stroke and peed his pants if he had the divine source, right? So, Jacob appears to be a combination of both Christ and a folkloric character called Koschei the Immortal. Koschei, however, is an antagonistic character from Russian folklore who is usually trying to steal the love interest of the protagonist of the fable. So he's just this kind of undying. It's Koschei, if you want to look it up. If you're pulling up the clip. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna.
No. I like to pull
what would you find, Ethan?
The pictures, and I often will, when we talk about stuff, especially real history stuff, I'll pull up the wiki pages, and then often I'll read them after we're done recording, because I just find it very interesting, the folktales and things like that. So
yeah, I love that old medieval art too. We talked about this already on a previous episode, but that flat perspective is so cool.
And I mean, if I don't pull it up now, I will never remember we ever talked about this. So.
Mm-hmm. You got to look up Hermes Trismegistus, dude. Come on, it's gonna be important for a trivia night one time in 3.5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jacob's power came from an object called the Divine Source, something Trinity very much wanted for themselves, and
the Catholic Church turns out they wanted it, right?
Yeah,
via Trinity.
Can you imagine never needing to swear in a new pope? You just kind of refresh the pope every once in a while.
As a what? Divine Source? I think we need that.
So where it came from originally is unknown. However, it was initially found on the island of Rügen in Germany in the Baltic Sea. Real island, real place, all real. Jacob and his followers believe it actually is a fragment of Yahweh, the cool and violent Old Testament version of the Christian God. So that is the belief within Kitze, that is a shard of him, because we talked about it on the Divine Comedy episodes a lot. Like, God, Old Testament God is like an incomprehensible being. So the fact that the shard of him in the second Tomb Raider game is like this blue crystal that bestows immortality and healing powers onto a single prophet kind of makes sense, because, like, you know, biblically accurate angel, biblically accurate God could very well be some sort of crystalline figure, like something so divine it's made entirely of gemstones or whatever, right?
Yeah, so, incomprehensible.
Yeah. I neglected to get a picture of this thing, but it is a, like, kind of this big around, like the size of a basketball, blue crystal that, like, shoots kind of a divine light into whoever's holding it.
Cool.
And, anyway. Nice. Jacob and his followers believe that, where it is? Roll that back.
We were talking about Yahweh.
Its power has kept Jacob alive, as well as his army of Byzantine soldiers. So you still get the Ghost Army in this one.
Nice.
Thank you very much. It's kept him and his army alive for 1,100 years at the time of the game, roughly.
Cool. And so, like, do you know in the game, like, if they get killed in combat, are they destroyed, or is Joshua able to, like, resurrect them after that fact?
It doesn't happen in game, but they don't leave a corpse behind. They dissolve into like a kind of like a cloud of light.
Okay.
Or, like, not a cloud of light, that doesn't make any sense, but, like, you kill them and they, like, dissolve in like a flash or whatever. They don't leave a corpse.
I guess I'm mainly just wondering, like, if they've been defending themselves for so long, is it like, are you facing like the whittled down, like, last remnants, or is it like they've fended off the hordes and after a time, you know, the Jesus figure is able to bring back the apostles?
Yeah, no, Jacob is just tired of it at this point. Okay. But no, like, he is confirmed to have, in quotes, been killed multiple times and has been resurrected. Like, is very much like, the millennia of his death and resurrection is why he is now known as the immortal prophet.
And why he'd be tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you think you could handle dying? Right? Me personally,
0?
once.
I think 0. I don't think I can handle it once. I'd rather not.
Just be dead. You kind of handle it. That's a purpose, right?
No, but I'd rather not. You know what I mean?
No, we need is some fucking Epstein corneas to keep us going for forever,
exactly.
Dude.
Yeah, I can only assume that it's the foreskin tips, the Catholic circumcisions, which they turn into, Jesus, like the fish into bread or whatever he does, turns foreskins into corneas, which then grant immortal life.
Of course, yeah.
So we got to start with the foreskins, Pete. No
contact lenses.
Yeah. Looking a little cockeyed.
It's a secret to immortality, you know. So after Lara destroys the divine source just by smashing it on the fucking ground, which is so funny how they've had it for thousands of years, and it may indeed be a fragment of the body of God himself. And, like, during the last boss fight, there's just a cutscene where he's just like, no, just destroy it. And she's just, like, holding this crystal. She's like, okay. And just smashes it on the fucking ground like a piggy bank. And that just like, nobody did that.
Yeah. In 11,000 years of constant conflict, nobody, like, accidentally, like, hit it off the pedestal that it was, like, resting on.
Yeah, or, like, whoever was carrying it never tripped. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, if you could just throw to the ground and it just obliterates the fucking thing. It's just, all right, well, we finally did it. He does state, however, like he does have a limit to how many cornea foreskins he needs to implant, because he does say he's lived a long enough life, and then he turns to dust and blows away after thanking Lara for like releasing him from what at this point has been like just a prison of the living,
Yeah.
where he's just constantly going, right? So weirdly enough, though, Jacob's daughter Sophia does not dissolve, meaning that he had a relationship with a woman at some point in the past few decades who he was easily 30 times older than.
Yeah. just I'm about 100 generations older than you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're technically related because that's just how it works. Like when you go far enough back, like you're always going to be related to me somehow via niece or nephew.
Yeah, it's like, so she's like actually like she's like real time 20. And one thing I was thinking is,
Jesus,
yeah, she's like 20 something,
like 30s, like mid to late 30s. But
yeah, no, she's like our age, like the character model.
We're not 20, Peter.
How old?
Peter, I hate to tell you this, we're not 20.
We're 32, I know. But one thing I was thinking,
could you handle dying?
Oh, fuck.
That's the kind of conversations that 20-year-olds don't have, let me tell you.
How bad was your hangover on New Year's Day after having 4 beers? Apocalyptic? Oh. One of the things I was thinking, was just like, maybe age of consent should reset after like 3 or 4 centuries, where once you turn 300, you can only start a relationship with someone who's 318. Like, you just like tabula rasa at some point.
Yeah.
Just so you don't get into this fucking situation.
Absolutely. I mean, like, the whole reason why big age gaps and like age of consent is what it is. I think it's extremely weird when a 30-year-old dates an 18-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, that age gap is just way too much for me. Your life experience is just so different. And thinking on like this guy who's like happy to be killed after living for 1,000 years is like, obviously, think how much difficulty someone who's 67 has adjusting to modern culture. I mean? like they cannot understand Gen Z at all. The technology that they use, the words that they use, the progress that they make, it's just like completely foreign to them, and all they can do is get angry about it and scream at Fox News.
Yeah, the Immortal Prophet's never going to use Riz correctly in a sentence, right? He's going to fuck it up.
Exactly.
Dude, could you imagine the boomer posting from a guy who's 1,000 years old?
Right?
Like, it's not even minion memes. It's all like cuneiform memes, but with the same like
minions.
Text. Yeah. That's a good one.
Don't worry, I'm writing it down for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Evidence all is still saying the same bullshit. But it's like, yeah, come on, liberal, come and take it, but it's just like a pointed rock. So anyway, that's the end of the second one there. It is a very good game, despite making fun of the Immortal Prophet there. I definitely worth playing. So finally we come to the third game in the trilogy, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where Lara accidentally begins the Maya apocalypse. And I wrote it Maya the whole time, which is how it was referred to in the documentation that I read about some of the real shit. I don't think it's Mayan. I think Mayan is like the language, and Maya is the culture, in the same way that Afghan is like people and Afghani is the currency. I think is the order those things go in. I don't recall. Anyway,
I don't really understand what you were saying there. But
it's Maya. It's like it's
the
Maya
civilization
instead of the Mayan with an N, right? Like Canadian.
But you could call it. Would you call it the Canada apocalypse, or would you call it the Canadian apocalypse?
I would call it the Canadian apocalypse. Were I an anthropologist looking back after Justin Trudeau starts the Mayan apocalypse or whatever by removing the secret dagger from Parliament Hill. So, well, like nothing super specific was taken for this one. The apocalypse in the third game here that came in 2018, obviously very inspired by the end of the Maya calendar in the year 2012, right?
Right.
Pseudoscientists and other ancient alien lovers believe that due to the Maya long calendar ending in 2012, that we should just expect the world to end. This, like we were roasting Graham Hancock before the break, the Maya didn't prepare themselves for like the Spanish, so they obviously were not telling people with electricity 1,000 years hence in 2012 that the sun was going to explode, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
You'd think they would have covered smallpox before they were like, well, we've got time for the sun. We could probably figure out a solution to that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So after discovering the Key of Shak Shell, a dagger-like key in the city of Cozumel, Mexico, and it like begins this earthquake. The first event of the first of the cataclysms for the Maya apocalypse is like a massive earthquake when she removes the dagger. The entire city of Cozumel just is obliterated by an earthquake and just like earthquake and sinks into the Gulf. Earthquake.
Yeah.
And sinks into the Gulf of Mexico. So like
she's all caked up by an earthquake.
She is responsible for the deaths of thousands of people just by picking up this little knife here.
Yeah, maybe more, right?
I don't know if Cozumel is real. I didn't Google it.
Yeah, Cozumel's real.
What's the population?
So I'm looking up. Oh, it's like an island. See. Cozumel, Mexico. Population 77,000 in 2010. That's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. Game came out in 2018, so add a couple more, maybe 82.
Yeah. Well, no, because it was in 2012 set though, right?
Because no, the games are set when they come out.
Oh, so it's the Mayan apocalypse. Like they were just wrong by 6 years.
Yeah, that's the mistake they made.
Well, because it's 2012, right? Is like the famous Mayan accident, the famous Mayan oopsie poopsie, where they killed the world.
So the Mayans were just like, no, the clocks on your computers won't be able to handle all those digits. And where was I? Later on, Lara and Jonah discover that the key opens a silver box of Ixchel, a second relic that is needed to halt the progress of the end of the world. So these two items, if brought together, will stop the sun from...
Okay.
They call it the death of the sun.
Will it bring Cozumel back?
No.
No.
Actually, there is all the chaos of destruction is never mentioned in the epilogue of the game. Okay. No one. It's just you see that the box and the dagger are like on her mantelpiece at Croft Manor.
Okay,
and like 80,000 people died for that, and you've got it in a glass case.
Yeah, it's the classic. We did it, Patrick. We saved the city. While Bikini Bottom burns in the background, right?
Well, yeah, it's like, well, thank God Trinity didn't get their hands on this, right? Yeah. We stopped them.
But again, they would have done something for profit with this.
Yeah, which is immoral.
Instead of resting on the laurels of their old money.
Yeah, exactly.
all my expeditions,
taking my Maya silver boxes back to Croft Manor that I've inherited. That was probably built on blood money. Let's be real.
Absolutely. That's all British wealth, right? Is or most 99% of British wealth was generally generated through colonialism. So, like, if you're an old rich Brit, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, who built it? Where'd you get the money for who built Croft Manor, Lara?
Yeah.
Richard?
Yeah.
You're marrying into like the de Moleys, like some famous French Crusader family too for her mom. Because I think Jacques, because I played the intro to Assassin's Creed Unity, I think Jacques de Molay is like a famous Crusader as well. It's like another famous name taken from history. If you could pull up that clip, yeah.
That one I don't know how to spell.
De Molay, it's Demolay. Just regular French, yeah.
De Molay International Fraternal Organization for Young Men, ages 12 to 21.
Like the YMCA?
It's fun to stay.
The YM de Mole. So these two relics were created by the Maya god. I don't know how to pronounce this. I tried saying it out loud to myself, so let's see. X-Quick. It's X-Q-U-I-C. Quick, maybe? Like Xibalba is also spelled with an X.
Yeah. Quick. X-Quick.
Yeah.
X-Quick, the pronunciation guide.
Yeah, Nesquik. So
Nesquik.
She is the Maya god of chocolate in llama's milk.
Speaking of blood money.
Yeah, Nestle.
Chocolate in general. But
Yeah. So Xiquick or X-Quick is one of the daughters of the underworld Xibalba, which is the Maya underworld. Okay. While the key was still in place, the box had previously been stolen or tomb raided, if you will, by the classic evil white guys, Spanish missionaries, baby.
Yeah.
So, like, the mid-game twist when you're looking for the silver box is the fact that it's already been taken by Spanish, like, colonists, by conquistadors.
Okay.
So, a Spanish missionary working for Trinity named Andres Lopez in 1603 had already taken the box. He found it, and then afterwards was just like, well, no, Trinity probably shouldn't have this power. So he did the correct thing. He simply moved it didn't tell anyone where it was, and then took it to his grave in a booby-trapped tomb underneath a Christian mission called the Mission of San Juan in Peru.
Okay.
So when you get it from him, sorry?
Chad energy. It's hard to, it must be hard to not only convince the other missionaries at the monastery that you need to booby trap your tomb, but then to also get them to not touch it for hundreds of years, like the booby traps, and just maintain those. It's like
they've got the sarcophagus with the box up at the end of the wall, and it's just like they're all setting the like human-sized rat trap springs, basically, like putting them down.
Yeah.
The booby traps in this one are actually, I just brute forced the puzzle because I didn't really understand it. Where you have to like push in these like cranks or whatever into the walls with like these various depictions of Jesus and his carrying the cross.
Okay.
And basically, if you get it wrong, it just like snaps shut these like handcuffs around Lara. She's like, "Oh no!" and then just shoots a big fucking spike right through her head.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, we haven't really talked about it, but like the getting trapped cutscenes in the first game anyway, and I assume it continuing on throughout the series, were always so unnecessarily violent to me. Like
they're too long and wildly violent. Yeah,
they're wildly violent, and I just remember one in the first game where you're like going down a river essentially, where there's these like hazards, or it's like a chute where they've like you're in a pool and you get dumped down this like chute or whatever, so you're riding the water down and you have to dodge these like spike traps that are set along the way. And it's like she like catches herself and like holds herself and then like slowly gets impaled like under the chin by a spike.
I do remember that one, yeah.
Which is just like so stuck with me. And I've gone on record in the past saying like I'm not a big fan of like gore or over the top violence. But yeah, like you say, like they're long, and I think I remember that section specifically because it was a difficult section in a video game where it's like you kind of just have to memorize like where the obstacles are because it's really hard to react fast enough to dodge them. And so you just see the same cutscene, which lasts 6 seconds or whatever, like over and over and over again while
before
you're trying to
try again.
Yeah, exactly. It's, yeah, I mean, too much violence, I think, in video games these days. And I am a 1,200-year-old man who's been living in Siberia for all that time. And so I'm the authority I'm the authority on saying video games are too violent these days.
In the second and third ones, they are equally as brutal, but they're mercifully short. And I don't know. There's not as, I do remember the chin spike one is like burned into my mind, but like falling to a spike pit in like an ancient ruin is never not gonna be funny, and it only lasts a second. Like you fall through the floor to a spike pit, you're like, you fucking got me, of course.
Got me.
Yeah. So those are good, but they did tone it down. I'm just better at games, I guess, or I'm playing a shooter on PC instead of on PS3 at this point. I found the games fairly easy. I played on the harder difficulties, but it's the good kind of hard difficulty where both you and the enemy take and do more damage.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like you have to be more careful. You're all glass cannons, it's how the Metro games did it, and I very much love that as well.
Yeah.
But there's not as many, like, in this one, there is like a tribe of subterranean cannibals, where if you get killed by one in a melee attack, it will like grab you by the face and like bash your head into the ground. And like that one's too long, but it's the way it's shot at the angle. It's like you don't see your head like break apart or anything. Like too bad. It's just annoyingly long to be killed by, a goblin, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. To be beaten to death by a goblin.
Yeah, exactly.
To be beaten off to death by a Jamie.
Oh, well, I mean, that's pretty good.
The podcast demon.
I'd be able to die at least once if that's how I went.
Jamie beating you off to death.
I could make it to 1100 if that happened a couple
over
times.
The clothes. You in a dark room lying on a table next to Angelina Jolie. He's got 2 hands.
Just like 3 of us in the front seat of one of those old cars that doesn't have a shifter.
Just a bench. Yeah.
So Shaquick, the creator of these relics, the goddess Shaquick, plays a pretty minor role in Maya mythology. At least according to the Wikipedia article on her that I read, it's very short.
Okay.
She is sometimes associated with the waning moon, but her real contribution to the creation myth was giving birth to the heroic twins Hunahpu and Xbalanque.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, Shaquick is an odd choice because in this particular version of the Maya apocalypse, the eclipse that is going to overtake and kill the sun at the end of the game. The Maya had an eclipse god. Like they could have just used that one.
Would have made a lot more sense.
Named Ahceliz. It's Ahciliz. But yeah, Ahceliz or Celiz, I guess, is the Maya eclipse god, and they were like, nah, just take Nesquik, the chocolate one. That's the one we're going to use for the Apocalypse game. Twin heroes. This is real mythology now. Twin heroes are a staple of a lot of native North and South American myths. This is a bit of kind of kook speculation. I do think like warrior twin myths were carried through from Russia and Asia, like through the Bering Strait or however people got here 20, 30,000 years ago, because a lot of Native American myths and native South American myths have heroic twins. And if you go back far enough to other things like Remus and Romulus and whatnot from Rome, but that's way after people would have already colonized the Americas, right? Because they've been here for longer than Rome or even like China.
Oh,
like
yeah. Saying colonizers, we're not colonized.
I know, there's no other people, right? Yeah.
Inhabited, yeah.
Like migrated, I guess would be the term of like, because the people who came here are referred to as the Paleo-Indians.
Migrated, so you're calling them immigrants. That's what you're saying.
Well, yeah. Get them out of here. I'm 1,100 years old. That's what my minion is saying. It's like anti-immigrant cuneiform minion. But yeah, the Paleo-Indians would have brought these the warrior twin legends with them, presumably, which is why, because of course they dispersed north to south, and all these cultures on the way down to the tip of Argentina have like this like part of the creation myth.
Okay.
Well, I mean, all would be an insane thing to claim. I guess I misspoke there, but like a lot of them do. Right?
Sure, yeah.
All the Indians think the same thing about the warrior twins, dude. It's great. It's so simple and easy.
Yeah. Boy, history is easy.
Boy, yeah. When you look at history from my perspective, it's just real simple.
Yeah. If you look through the lens of a confident white man, it's pretty easy to understand civilization. Other cultures.
Aliens did it. I don't get it. So Trinity's involvement in South America dates back to when the Europeans arrived. They came over with them as they were big Catholics. However, the South American branch has kind of folded into something called the Cult of Kukulkan, worshippers of the god of creation and destruction. Kukulkan is one of the many cool South American snake gods who wreaks destruction upon the land. The cult currently is led by Pedro Dominguez, who you can pull up a picture of, handsome Latino man. Mm-hmm. He was actually born in a secret city called Paititi. This one it's much easier to explain, the jungle city in Peru this time. This one makes a lot more sense.
How do we get the jungle city in Peru, though?
How do we get the igloos into Peru? Same guy. It's just like, it's on a glacier.
I mean, yeah, you can go high enough up in the mountains in Peru to find an igloo
in
for
the
sure.
Andes, it's like
I think the Syrian desert would be harder to put into Peru. Although they have the driest desert in the world, right? That's in Peru,
Atacama or whatever it is, or something. Yeah,
it's around there anyway. Close enough.
Yeah, hold the clip. Right. Anyway, Kukulkan.
Chile.
So Pedro Dominguez was born in Paititi, but left and this is what doomed the natives. He was educated in the West.
Okay, yeah, classic.
Yeah. This is why he joined Trinity and then came back and I don't know if he created, I probably missed that, created or at least led the cult of Kukulkan, who is trying to overthrow Paititi, and he wants to use the power of the silver box and the dagger to remake the world. Again, a lot of the ambitions of Trinity are just like, we're going to remake the world so there's like, it's like that benevolent fascism of just like, no, if we're in complete control, then there's no problems. And like, give me, the mercenary, the gift of immortality. And I swear to God, there will be no more death and destruction. Right?
No, we're going to put it in a generationally wealthy English person's house. Thank you very much.
Yes, exactly.
We're the good guys.
So
as God, as Jesus, a white person, intended, right?
Yes, exactly. The first white man. Born on the shores of the Red Sea.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a fucked up title for the episode. It's Tomb Raider, the first white man. So Paititi is currently ruled over by the exile queen Unarutu, who is the last image I have there. This character, in game, she is so well written and so well acted, and the animation and the mocap is so good. Honestly, like Unarutu is one of my favorite like supporting game characters. Like Rip and Power Queen, I loved every second she was on screen. So well written, just like no nonsense. Like whoever played her, when they were like, "You're the queen of an entire city," absolutely like no jokes, no sass, nothing. Absolutely in charge, in control at all times. Like so fucking well done. I really loved her arc of the third game there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Portrayed by Patricia Velasquez.
Who's that? Is she? Yeah, I wonder if she's in anything else.
You would recognize her. She's been in movies. She was in The Mummy. She's in some other stuff. The Mummy.
Like the Tom Cruise Mummy? Or
the Tom Cruise no, the Brendan Fraser Mummy. I forgot Tom Cruise.
Hell yeah.
I forgot Tom Cruise made a she was like the old Anuk Sunamun, like the original Anuk Sunamun in the movie.
Right. I rewatched the Brendan Fraser The First Mummy last year. It holds up. That movie.
It's fantastic. I watched it in the last few years too. It's phenomenal.
I don't know about the second or the third. I haven't seen them. I don't think ever, frankly, but
I think I've seen which one's the Scorpion King? I've definitely seen the Scorpion King.
That's the second one.
And then I've seen 2.
Oh yeah, I do recognize this lady, of course. Yeah. She's fantastic. And making the transition from like real actor, that's offensive, from in-person actor to like mocap and voice actor, not everybody can do that, as we've seen with like phenomenal actors like Peter Dinklage, who, if you go by his performance in Destiny and Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, cannot read. But you see him on screen in Game of Thrones. He steals every fucking scene he's in. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, excuse me. Lara eventually defeats Dr. Dominguez by shooting him a bunch. It's very funny when he starts absorbing the power of a god. Your bow and arrow and guns still work. So again, another thing the Maya didn't prepare for. They're warning us about the apocalypse, but nothing on as if the world would be static when they carved out that calendar. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Pointed sticks are the height of technology.
Yeah.
Clearly,
a big rock at the end of a stick.
It's like whoa. I don't trust it.
Damn fangled new technology. This damn Generation A.
Riz carved in hieroglyphs, which is just my word of the week now because I think it's
hieroglyphs.
No, Riz. Anyway, after stabbing, so basically what you do is you stun him with your guns, and then you run up to him and stab him with the key, because it's like a dagger key, basically. In the end, after killing Dr. Dominguez, Lara absorbs the power, but she lets the Queen of the Damned, who is like the leader, the queen of she's the yin to Unarutu's yang. She is the underworld queen, basically, the queen of the cannibals, and she sacrifices, or she extracts the power of the box from Lara's body, and then sacrifices it to restore the sun, thus not undoing the 70,000 people that died in Mexico, but like ends the apocalypse. So another poor city that the U.S. has absolutely pillaged does not sink into the Gulf of Mexico.
At least Europe isn't going to be impacted by all this.
Well, certainly not. That would be ridiculous. Although Assassin's Creed, on the subject of ancient history, Assassin's Creed Rogue, which is a underrated one, that one opens with the earthquake in Lisbon, Portugal. The security system protecting the Peace of Eden under Lisbon is just like, somebody touched the box, sink the bitch into the ocean, and there's like a really good escape scene of like Lisbon collapsing into the sea. Play Assassin's Creed Rogue, guys. You can get it for $1. Like it's really good.
I know personally the voice actor for that one.
Yes, I know. I have him on Facebook. He's he's just a Montreal guy.
Yeah, funny guy.
Plays Jake Cormac.
Yeah, and I mean, any game where you get to see Portugal slide into the sea has got to be a good game, right?
Based.
It's a great soundbite, I think.
Yeah, just add that one to the board. Leave a note. So in the end, like I said, she allows the powers to be removed, prevents the apocalypse, and puts everything in her home. So it's like, well, no one will ever get this evil box and restart the apocalypse by breaking into my house. That would be insane. But she returns home, and in the epilogue, it just like ends the trilogy there. Everything gets wrapped up in a nice little bow. So that would be the Survivor trilogy of the Tomb Raider games. I love them. I like the lore. I like the real world inspiration of all of it. I think they're great. Yeah, pick them up if you can. One of them's on Game Pass, and the rest is definitely cheap. So I've been your host, Peter O'Donoghue. You can find me at Loreboys Podcast on Instagram. Big things slowly starting to come together. Hit us up. Give us a follow. Thank you to everybody who's followed us recently. We got another big bump there. All the likes, everything. All the messages, the responses, the story. Love it all. Thank you very much. So, yeah.
I just checked if you've been up to date with EGS and the free games, Epic Game Store, and the free games they give away on PC. You might, like me, own the trilogy, because I was like, I'm sure I own them somewhere, and they're 0 playtime, not installed, but on Epic Game Store because they were given away for free at some point.
I know you're doing your roguelike Pokemon thing, but like if you want to roll credits in 10 hours and they're a lot of fun, you could get through all three like in a couple of weeks.
Doing my roguelike Pokemon thing, I did also buy Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader today and the Cyberpunk DLC. So
okay. The Cyberpunk DLC is fire as fuck though. Yeah, way better.
I was looking like I have some games. I bought Time Spinner recently, which is like a Metroidvania game that I still haven't touched at all, which I would like to play. Never beat Tunic. I got plenty of stuff to play. Those will sit in my Epic Games library for
at least you own them.
I have Citizen Sleeper, this sci-fi RPG that I wanted to start as well, which I haven't touched. I got Tales of Iron, friend of the show, David got me. Haven't touched. Yeah, there's a lot of games to play. Why do we got to make me feel bad about it, Peter?
I know you have a daughter and shit, but you could at least play a game with a female protagonist. Really inspire
her. Right? Well, I have Imposter Factory, which I'm pretty sure has a female protagonist, and I haven't touched it all. So,
you're the worst.
It's like I'm not a feminist. I just noticed. I just pulled up Imposter Factory. It's like a mystery game where you have to like solve a mystery. Essentially, it has one achievement. I'm just noticing, and that achievement is end the world. It just says do what must be done. How exciting!
I see.
Maybe I'll play that this week and let you guys know on the bonus audio next week if it's any good. Like we said earlier in the show, if you want to listen to our bonus audio where we talk about kind of what games we've been playing, stuff going on in our lives, more casual conversation between the boys, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/theloreboys for more information on that. We do have an Instagram. Pete, you want to talk about the Instagram at all?
I did already.
You already did? Okay, well, I wasn't listening, Peter.
Yeah, clearly you were looking at whether or not you owned Tomb Raider and then decided not to play it.
We do have a Jimbo who's usually joining us. If this is your first episode, there is usually a third person on this cast who would plug the Discord. There's a link in the description below where you can shout out the boys. You can chat with us. We're usually in there a little bit. The patrons get access to a couple extra channels like Patron AMA, where we do our best to answer any questions that you ask, though we're not always good at answering them. Somebody asked today, what's your guilty pleasure TV show? And all three of us were like, damn, we don't really watch TV. So,
I know, that was so disappointing. I was like, TV? What the fuck are you talking about?
I wish I watched TV to answer your question, Turtle, but I don't. So
what are you, 1,000 years old? Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Turtle's such a boomer. There's a lore request channel where you can request us to cover lore. Somebody requested more Bionicle today. Somebody requested Lord of the Rings today, which we've done several episodes on. And Magnus, who's been around for a long time at this point, was surprised that we've done more than just Shadow of War, even though we've definitely done plenty more episodes.
Like 5.
Yeah, we've done a lot of Lord of the Rings at this point. I would love to do the Numenorians someday.
Oh yeah, that's a great. I want to do Rohan. Is on my personal list on my phone.
Yeah, there you go. So get into the Discord channel, the Discord server, if you have a Discord account, and you can join the lore request channel, or you can send us an email, loreboyspodcast@gmail.com. We'll read it when we do a mailbag, which we do periodically. We probably have one coming up sometime soon. The fun thing is we never know when we're going to do them. It all depends on when can we all get together and afford to get drunk for a night, because usually we get pretty close to blackout drunk on Twitch and read some emails, have a good laugh.
I fell asleep once during Bloodborne.
Yeah, that's true. That was after we finished reading the emails when Jamie and I started playing Bloodborne, and we're we were talking with somebody from
Australian guy,
New Zealand. Right? Shellen was his name. And I don't remember why we were talking to this person or how we were talking to this person, but we were playing Bloodborne, talking to this person as far as I can remember. Who knows? That was years in the past. So you can get in touch with us, loreboyspodcast@gmail.com or contact@loreboyspodcast.com. If you want to support the show, there's Patreon, which I plugged already. And if you don't trust Patreon, we do have Lore Boys Prime, which we've always had. Of course, like always, we ask for a little something in return to be a part of the exclusive club. So this week, whoever can sink Portugal into the sea will get to become a member of Lore Boys Prime this week. We'll need some kind of proof that you're the one that did it, I suppose. So, the golden apple, which you use to harness the power of the gods and, cause the mountains to crumble into the sea or whatever it may be. Make sure you bring that as homework. We'll probably take the divine power from you when you're done with it, just because like any good pledge in the Lore Boys fraternity, you'd want to make sure that you're given the real goods. You're paying it up, right? It's like an MLM, the Lore Boys Prime, basically, where we're going to ask you to recruit other people with divine powers so that we can then take their divine powers as well and give you a little sprinkling of some leftover divine power for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, why do you need all that divine power? Why don't you want to just give it to us and give us immortality? If the Lore Boys were immortal, that means that the Lore Boys show would never end, which is presumably something you'd want if you've made it this far into the episode.
The 1,000-year Lore Boy empire.
Hit us up. I think that would constitute Lore Boys.
Lore Boys
out.